The WNBA was already at the center of one of its most emotional seasons in years, but then another wave of debate exploded across sports media. This time, it wasn't just fans arguing online. The conversation intensified after commentary surrounding Caitlin Clark's treatment on the court, with many viewers debating whether league officials were doing enough to protect one of basketball's biggest stars. Then, basketball legend Reggie Miller entered the discussion, and suddenly everyone wanted to know exactly where he stood. Within hours, clips, reactions, and social media posts spread across every major platform. Some fans claimed Miller had perfectly captured what millions had been thinking. Others argued his comments were being taken out of context or exaggerated online. Whatever the full story, one thing became impossible to ignore. The debate had grown far beyond a single game. As analysts broke down hard fouls, physical defense, and the league's officiating, emotions reached another level. Supporters of Clark insisted the rookie had been forced to deal with unnecessary physicality. Critics responded that tough defense has always been part of professional basketball. Meanwhile, the internet transformed every replay into another battleground, with thousands of fans dissecting every angle frame by frame. But what happened next may have been even more surprising. As the discussion spread, former players, media personalities, and basketball insiders began weighing in, creating a much bigger conversation about respect, star power, league growth, and the future of the WNBA. And according to many fans following the story online, this was only the beginning of an even larger controversy that no one saw coming. From the moment Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, it felt as though every game carried far more attention than a typical regular season matchup. Arenas filled faster, television ratings climbed, and every possession was dissected by fans, analysts, and former players. With that attention came enormous expectations and constant debate. Every hard foul, every officiating decision, and every emotional reaction quickly became headline material, turning routine basketball moments into national conversations. Clark's rise had already transformed the spotlight around the league. After her record-breaking college career, many expected her transition to professional basketball to be difficult, but few anticipated just how intense the public scrutiny would become. Every performance was compared to impossible standards. When she excelled, supporters celebrated her impact on the league. When she struggled, critics questioned whether the hype had gone too far. It created an environment where every game seemed to carry the weight of an entire season. At the same time, veteran players across the WNBA continued emphasizing that respect in professional basketball is earned over time, not handed out because of popularity or media attention. Many observers believe that dynamic naturally created a more physical and competitive environment whenever Clark stepped onto the floor. Others argued that the increased attention simply made ordinary basketball plays appear more controversial than they might have seemed in previous seasons. As these conversations continued, sports media became increasingly divided. Some commentators focused on Clark's resilience, pointing out how she consistently responded to physical play by continuing to compete. Others argued that officiating across the league should be more consistent, regardless of which players were involved. While opinions differed, one reality remained clear. Almost every nationally televised game involving Indiana sparked another wave of debate. Former NBA players also began sharing their perspectives. Having experienced intense media attention themselves, many discussed the challenges that come with becoming the face of a rapidly growing league. Some emphasized that physical defense has always been part of basketball at every level. Others suggested that star players inevitably receive extra attention, both from opponents and from the public. Those differing viewpoints only added more fuel to an already emotional conversation. Against that backdrop, Reggie Miller's name became part of the discussion. As a Hall of Fame player and respected basketball analyst, his opinions naturally attracted attention. Fans across social media debated what his comments meant and whether they reflected broader concerns about the league. In many cases, clips circulated without full context, leading different audiences to interpret them in very different ways. Some believed he was defending Clark. Others argued he was simply discussing basketball fundamentals. The online debate quickly became larger than the original remarks themselves. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever continued focusing on improving as a team. Players repeatedly emphasized chemistry, preparation, and winning games rather than responding to every headline. Coaches stressed execution and discipline, while teammates publicly supported one another through the ups and downs of a demanding season. Still, with cameras following nearly every move, even routine interactions sometimes became the subject of online speculation. The league itself also found itself under increasing scrutiny. As television audiences expanded and social media engagement reached new highs, every controversial whistle, missed call, or emotional exchange was replayed thousands of times online. Some fans believe the added attention was a sign of tremendous growth for women's basketball. Others worried that constant controversy risked overshadowing the outstanding talent across the league. Nothing about the situation was simple. On one side were fans who believed Clark's treatment reflected the pressures that come with being one of the sport's biggest stars. On the other were those who argued that the conversation often ignored the competitiveness and physicality that have long defined professional basketball. Both perspectives found passionate supporters, creating one of the most polarizing discussions of the season. As the Fever prepared for another stretch of important games, anticipation continued to build. Every matchup promised new storylines, fresh debates, and another opportunity for the basketball world to examine how the league was evolving under an unprecedented spotlight. Analysts predicted that future games would receive even greater attention than before, while fans eagerly waited to see whether the conversation would finally settle or explode into something even bigger. And then, another pivotal moment on the court reignited everything, setting the stage for the biggest turning point in the story so far. The next nationally televised Fever game didn't just draw attention because of the standings. By tip-off, the atmosphere already felt different. Fans packed the arena, social media buzzed with predictions, and commentators noted that every possession involving Caitlin Clark would likely be analyzed long after the final buzzer. The game carried enormous expectations, not only because of Indiana's recent momentum, but also because the broader conversation surrounding physical play and officiating had reached another level. Early in the contest, the intensity matched the anticipation. Defenders pressured Clark from the opening minutes, forcing her to work for every touch. She responded with quick decisions, sharp passes, and relentless movement without the ball. Supporters praised her composure, while critics argued that the physical defense was simply part of high-level basketball. Every whistle and every non-call immediately generated reactions online, with fans posting slow-motion clips and debating whether officials were getting the biggest moments right. As the game progressed, the emotional temperature continued rising. Veteran players competed with visible determination, knowing every possession could influence the outcome. Teammates encouraged one another after hard defensive stops, while coaches adjusted strategies in search of an advantage. On television, analysts repeatedly discussed how increased national attention had changed the environment surrounding WNBA games. What might once have been viewed as routine basketball contact was now becoming the focus of endless discussion across social media. By halftime, hashtags related to Clark, the Fever, and league officiating were already trending. Fans split into competing camps, each convinced the game supported their perspective. Some believed Clark was battling through unusually physical defense. Others insisted the coverage itself was exaggerating ordinary basketball plays. The online debate moved almost as quickly as the action on the court, with thousands of comments appearing every minute. Then came the sequence that shifted the entire conversation. Midway through the second half, a physical defensive possession resulted in another controversial moment involving Clark. Officials made their ruling on the floor, but within seconds, clips from multiple camera angles began spreading across social media. Different accounts interpreted the same play in dramatically different ways. Some argued the officials handled it correctly. Others believed the replay raised new questions. Without waiting for additional context, online debates intensified almost instantly. Television analysts urged viewers not to jump to conclusions based on isolated clips, reminding audiences that replay angles can sometimes create misleading impressions. Still, the discussion continued to escalate. Fans searched for slow-motion footage, compared similar plays from previous games, and debated whether the league should review situations like this differently in the future. As emotions continued building, commentators broadened the discussion beyond one possession. They asked whether the WNBA's rapid growth had placed unprecedented pressure on players, officials, and coaches alike. Every controversial call now carried national significance because millions of people were watching and reacting in real time. The spotlight surrounding Clark, in particular, meant that nearly every game became part of a much larger conversation about the future of the league. Around the same time, clips of Reggie Miller's broader basketball commentary began circulating again. Depending on which version viewers encountered, the message appeared to emphasize different points. Some fans interpreted his remarks as support for Clark's ability to handle adversity. Others viewed them as a reminder that physical competition has always been part of professional basketball. Because short clips often lacked full context, debates about his comments quickly became almost as heated as discussions about the game itself. Media personalities soon weighed in from every angle. Some praised Clark's resilience under constant scrutiny. Others argued that the attention surrounding one player sometimes overshadowed the accomplishments of the league as a whole. Rather than settling the debate, each new opinion created another round of headlines, reaction videos, and viral posts. Inside the Fever organization, however, the public message remained consistent. Coaches emphasized preparation. Teammates stressed unity. Players focused on the next possession rather than the latest social media trend. While outside conversations grew louder, those closest to the team repeatedly stated that their priority remained winning basketball games. Yet the perception surrounding Indiana continued changing. Opponents recognized that every matchup against the Fever now attracted extraordinary attention. Fans watched closely for every interaction, while broadcasters highlighted the emotional stakes surrounding even routine regular season contests. The combination of increased visibility and passionate fan engagement ensured that every controversial moment would receive far more attention than similar plays might have in previous seasons. As the final minutes approached, the outcome of the game remained uncertain, but the broader narrative had already taken on a life of its own. Basketball discussions increasingly centered not only on wins and losses, but also on officiating consistency, media framing, and how the league could balance physical competition with player safety. Those topics extended far beyond a single night, reflecting the challenges that accompany rapid growth and unprecedented public interest. Then another development emerged that few people anticipated. Following the game, analysts began comparing the reactions across television, podcasts, and social media. Rather than finding consensus, they discovered an even wider divide. Some believe the controversy demonstrated how much the WNBA had grown as a major sports property. Others argued that constant online arguments risked distracting from the quality of basketball itself. Either way, the conversation showed no signs of slowing down. By the next morning, headlines focused less on the final score and more on what the latest controversy might mean for the weeks ahead. Would officiating become an even bigger storyline? Would players adjust how they approached highly publicized games? And would prominent basketball voices continue shaping public opinion with every new comment? Those questions remained unanswered. But one thing was certain. The biggest wave of attention was still building, and the next chapter promised to be even more intense. The hours after the game felt almost as intense as the contest itself. Sports television, podcasts, and social media feeds were dominated by one topic. Every network seemed to feature a different angle. Every analyst had a different interpretation, and every fan base believed it had the strongest argument. Instead of fading, the discussion continued growing, turning what had begun as a debate over one game into a league-wide conversation about officiating, player treatment, and the pressure that comes with becoming one of the WNBA's biggest attractions. Online, the volume of content became overwhelming. New clips appeared every few minutes, often highlighting different moments from the same game. Some users focused on physical defensive plays involving Caitlin Clark. Others emphasized possessions that showed the competitiveness of both teams. As these clips spread, viewers frequently interpreted them in different ways, demonstrating how quickly short video segments can shape public opinion without always providing the full context of an entire game. Media personalities also entered the conversation from every direction. Some argued that Clark's ability to stay composed despite relentless attention demonstrated remarkable maturity for a young professional. Others emphasized that veteran defenders have always challenged rising stars, suggesting that physical basketball is nothing new. The variety of opinions reflected the complexity of the issue rather than a single clear conclusion. Meanwhile, speculation about Reggie Miller's comments continued circulating online. Some fans claimed his perspective validated concerns about how Clark had been defended throughout the season. Others cautioned that portions of his analysis were being shared without enough context, leading audiences to draw conclusions he may never have intended. Because multiple versions of his remarks were circulating simultaneously, many viewers struggled to separate original commentary from social media interpretations. As the debate expanded, another theme began emerging: the growing visibility of the WNBA itself. League attendance, television ratings, and online engagement had all increased significantly compared with previous years. Many analysts suggested that the intensity of the current discussions reflected the success of women's basketball rather than a crisis. Greater popularity naturally meant more scrutiny, more passionate opinions, and more public disagreement over controversial moments. Inside team facilities, however, the focus reportedly remained far more practical. Coaches prepared scouting reports, players reviewed game film, and organizations concentrated on upcoming opponents. Publicly available interviews suggested that athletes across the league understood the outside noise, but continued emphasizing basketball over headlines. While fans debated narratives online, teams concentrated on execution between the lines. Still, anticipation surrounding the Fever only continued increasing. Opposing arenas prepared for larger crowds whenever Indiana visited. National broadcasts highlighted Clark's impact on television audiences and ticket demand, while also recognizing the contributions of established veterans and rising stars across the league. The spotlight surrounding each Fever game had become impossible to ignore. Then another unexpected shift changed the conversation once again. Rather than focusing solely on officiating or physical play, analysts began discussing how the constant media attention might influence future games. Would officials feel additional pressure knowing every call would be replayed thousands of times online? Would players become more cautious in highly publicized matchups? Or would the increased spotlight simply reinforce the importance of maintaining consistency regardless of outside reactions? No one had definitive answers, but the questions themselves reflected how dramatically the league's profile had grown. Social media quickly amplified those discussions. Some fans believed the WNBA had reached a turning point where every nationally televised game would generate NFL or NBA-level debate. Others argued that passionate online communities often magnify controversies beyond what actually occurs on the court. Regardless of perspective, engagement remained extraordinarily high, keeping the story at the center of the sports conversation. By the end of the week, the original game had evolved into something much larger than a single result. It had become a symbol of broader conversations about competition, media coverage, officiating, league growth, and the challenges of balancing intense rivalries with fair analysis. Every new interview, highlight package, and opinion piece added another layer to the discussion. Then came perhaps the most surprising realization of all. Many longtime observers noted that regardless of which side fans supported, nearly everyone agreed on one point. Interest in the WNBA had reached unprecedented levels. Games featuring Caitlin Clark consistently generated massive attention, but so did the performances of teammates, opponents, and fellow stars across the league. The debates themselves demonstrated just how invested audiences had become in women's professional basketball. Even so, the story was far from over. With more nationally televised games approaching, expectations continued rising. Every matchup involving Indiana promised renewed analysis, fresh headlines, and another opportunity for players to define the conversation through their performance rather than through speculation. Whether future debates would center on basketball excellence, officiating, rivalries, or media narratives remained impossible to predict. One thing, however, seemed increasingly clear: the next chapter would not be decided by social media alone. It would unfold on the court, where every possession, every decision, and every result would once again be watched by millions, and where the public reaction afterward might become just as significant as the game itself. By the morning after the game, it was clear that the conversation had expanded far beyond a single matchup. Sports talk shows opened with lengthy discussions about the Fever, Caitlin Clark, and the league's continued growth. Headlines focused on the broader debate over physical play, officiating consistency, and how rapidly increasing attention has changed the environment surrounding professional women's basketball. The final score still mattered, but the surrounding discussion had become the dominant story. Across social media, reactions poured in from every direction. Some fans praised Clark for maintaining her composure under constant scrutiny, pointing to her resilience and willingness to keep competing despite intense pressure. Others emphasized that physical defense has always been a defining feature of elite basketball and argued that the recent attention reflected the natural intensity of professional competition. The divide illustrated how passionately people were following the league. Basketball analysts also found themselves split. Some argued that the spotlight surrounding Clark inevitably magnified every controversial moment, making routine basketball plays appear more dramatic than they might have seemed in previous seasons. Others believed the increased attention created an opportunity to discuss officiating standards, player safety, and the importance of consistency across all games. Rather than reaching consensus, each broadcast introduced fresh perspectives that fueled additional conversation. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever continued presenting a steady public message. Players and coaches emphasized teamwork, preparation, and improvement rather than engaging directly with every headline. Public interviews highlighted confidence in the group's ability to stay focused despite the constant attention. Teammates praised one another's professionalism, reinforcing the idea that internal priorities remained centered on basketball rather than online narratives. The broader WNBA community also became part of the discussion. Former players, coaches, and commentators reflected on how dramatically the league had evolved. Many observed that larger audiences naturally bring greater scrutiny, with every significant play instantly analyzed by millions of viewers. They noted that while increased attention can create controversy, it also reflects the growing popularity and visibility of women's basketball. Online, however, speculation continued, moving faster than verified information. Isolated video clips circulated without full game context, leading different audiences to reach different conclusions about the same plays. Some users confidently promoted theories that others quickly challenged, reminding viewers that short highlights rarely capture the complete story. The contrast highlighted how easily social media can amplify disagreement, particularly during high-profile sporting events. As attention intensified, discussions increasingly shifted toward the future. Fans wondered how upcoming opponents would approach games against Indiana. Some predicted teams would continue playing aggressively, while others expected greater emphasis on avoiding unnecessary controversy. Analysts cautioned that every matchup is unique and that broad conclusions should not be drawn from isolated moments, but anticipation for future games nevertheless continued to grow. The Fever's rising profile also changed expectations for the remainder of the season. Every nationally televised appearance promised another opportunity for extraordinary basketball, and another chance for debates to emerge if controversial moments occurred. That combination of elite competition and unprecedented visibility ensured that public interest would likely remain exceptionally high regardless of individual game outcomes. Perhaps the most significant development was the realization that conversations about the WNBA were now reaching audiences far beyond traditional basketball fans. Casual sports viewers, national media outlets, and mainstream commentators increasingly discussed league storylines alongside those from other major professional sports. Many observers viewed that broader attention as evidence of meaningful progress, even when the conversations themselves became passionate or divisive. As another game approached, excitement continued building. Fans anticipated outstanding performances, compelling rivalries, and intense competition, while also hoping that basketball itself would remain the central focus. Yet everyone understood that in an era of instant highlights and constant online engagement, even ordinary moments could quickly become major talking points. With emotions still running high and public interest continuing to grow, the biggest question remained unanswered. Would the next chapter calm the debate, or ignite an even larger one? As another nationally televised Fever game approached, anticipation reached a new level. What had started as discussion surrounding one matchup had evolved into a broader conversation about competition, officiating, media attention, and the WNBA's remarkable growth. Fans were no longer watching only to see the final score, They were watching to see whether the latest debates would continue or whether the focus would return entirely to the basketball itself. Pre-game coverage reflected that heightened interest. Broadcasters discussed Indiana's recent performances, Clark's continued development as a playmaker, and the increasing attention surrounding every Fever game. Analysts also emphasized an important point. While social media often highlights controversy, the WNBA season is ultimately defined by what happens on the court over many months, not by a single viral moment. Even so, online speculation showed no signs of slowing. Every practice clip, interview, and warm-up video generated fresh theories. Some fans believed the league had entered a new era where every nationally televised game would become a major cultural event. Others argued that passionate online communities frequently amplify routine basketball situations into much larger narratives. Both perspectives continued attracting enormous engagement. Another noticeable shift also emerged. Conversations increasingly celebrated the overall talent throughout the league rather than focusing exclusively on one player. Commentators highlighted established stars, rising rookies, and competitive rivalries that had helped elevate interest across women's basketball. Many observers suggested that while Caitlin Clark remained one of the sport's biggest attractions, the league's continued growth depended on showcasing the depth of talent throughout every roster. Meanwhile, analysts revisited the broader themes that had dominated recent headlines. They discussed consistency in officiating, the physical nature of professional basketball, and the challenges of balancing intense competition with player safety. Most agreed that these were important conversations worth having, but they also stressed that conclusions should be based on complete games and verified information rather than isolated clips circulating online. As excitement built for the next contest, one reality became increasingly apparent. The WNBA had entered a period of unprecedented visibility. Attendance remained strong, television audiences continued expanding, and online engagement reached levels that would have seemed unlikely only a few years earlier. The very intensity of recent debates reflected how invested fans had become in following every development across the league. Yet perhaps the biggest twist was not any single play or comment. It was the realization that public expectations had fundamentally changed. Every nationally televised game now carried extraordinary significance. Every close finish, emotional reaction, and controversial decision had the potential to dominate sports conversations for days. Players, coaches, officials, broadcasters, and fans all found themselves operating in an environment where attention moved faster than ever before. Looking ahead, no one could predict exactly which storyline would define the remainder of the season. It might be a memorable playoff race, an outstanding individual performance, a thrilling rivalry, or another debate that captures national attention. What remained certain was that interest in the league would continue growing, bringing both exciting opportunities and greater scrutiny. And so the biggest question remained unanswered. Would the next headline be created by an unforgettable basketball performance, or by another moment that sends fans rushing to social media to debate every angle once again? Only the games ahead will provide that answer, and millions of viewers will be watching closely when they do. Whether you agreed with every opinion surrounding this story or not, one thing is undeniable. The WNBA has become one of the most talked about leagues in professional sports. Every nationally televised game now sparks conversations that extend far beyond the final score, with fans, analysts, former players, and media personalities all bringing different perspectives to the discussion. That level of attention reflects just how much interest in women's basketball has grown. At the same time, it's important to separate verified information from online speculation. Viral clips and social media reactions can shape public opinion very quickly, but they don't always tell the full story. Watching complete games, considering multiple viewpoints, and relying on confirmed information helps create a more balanced understanding of what actually happens on the court. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the increased spotlight on Caitlin Clark has changed how people view physical play in the WNBA? Have recent debates helped bring more attention to the league, or do they sometimes distract from the incredible basketball being played? And how do you think the WNBA should continue balancing competitive intensity with consistency in officiating as the league keeps growing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We always enjoy reading different perspectives, and respectful discussion makes the community stronger. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest WNBA coverage. We bring you breaking news, game analysis, player updates, league developments, and the biggest basketball conversations as they happen. Thanks for watching, and remember, the next game could produce another unforgettable performance, another major headline, or another debate that keeps the basketball world talking. We'll be here to break it all down with you.